Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, and I'm here today to bring you guys my personal pick for multiplayer shooter of 2016. Now, I don't really do anything super official with this. I know how some people look at these Game of the Year selection things. People like to make parodies of them, so on and so forth, but it's never been anything official to me. It's just you, me, a bunch of people who like playing games, talking about why and how we loved certain games so much in 2016. So there's no ridiculous rules, and I don't think there should be, and that really led to me thinking a lot about games that actually released in 2015 when I was thinking about the multiplayer shooters I had played in 2016. Halo 5 Guardians and Rainbow Six Siege obviously being the two big ones. Those are games that actually released in 2015, believe it or not, but are absolutely thriving here in 2016 and will most likely continue to thrive into 2017. Both of these games are seeing heavy support from their developers and in turn, heavy support from the community, which is still alive and well. Both of those games, by the way, are doing free DLC essentially. So they deliver all gameplay focused DLC, maps and modes, and you know, the really important stuff that matters completely for free while providing microtransactions for rec packs and for skins, as well as early unlocks for the operators in the case of Rainbow Six Siege to still fund the game to turn a profit post-launch. I don't think either of those do things absolutely perfectly when it comes to their DLC delivery, but they're pretty much in line with a lot of the stuff that we're seeing here in 2016. The idea that gameplay-focused DLC should be free, and that a developer can turn a profit via cosmetic sales. So that's probably a big part. I think that is, without a doubt, a big part of why those games are doing so well here in 2016. You know, they're seeing active support. There's always a reason, regardless of whether or not you've spent money on either of these games, to go back and check out the updates, because there will be free content waiting for you. So both of those games for me would be perfectly acceptable picks for multiplayer shooter of 2016 because they're still alive and well. I think that's a part of the evolution, the change that we're seeing with the AAA industry and the way that they support games post-launch. One that I am completely on board with. The idea of a developer no longer feeling the need, or a publisher feeling the need, to force a developer into developing a sequel 2 years or 1 year after launch, and instead just supporting the game is absolutely fantastic, and I want to see more of that. We're already starting to see that with games here in 2016. So what did drop in 2016 when it came to multiplayer shooters, at least that I played? Battlefield 1, of course, DICE bringing us, or I should say taking us back in time to World War I. Gears of War 4, Gears of War returned with Rod Ferguson back at the wheel again. That was definitely an awesome feeling. The Division blended third-person cover-based shooting and RPGs to an odd effect, but nonetheless something that I fell massively in love with, and the game is just getting better and better here as we move into 2017. And of course, Titanfall 2 launched. Respawn brought us back into the wonderful sci-fi universe of Titanfall, and as you can tell, I'm quite in love with it. Here's the thing though. While all of those games provided some really spectacular multiplayer experiences, lots of great memories, lots of great moments, I'm obviously obsessed with the Titanfall 2 multiplayer experience, there's only one game that can truly be my multiplayer shooter for 2016. It's a game that I don't play on the channel that often, but it is Blizzard's Overwatch. Overwatch is really special to me. I think a lot of people see how special Overwatch is. It's the reason it's been so successful. It's the reason it has such a large community. It's the reason that Blizzard is giving it its own pro league. It's the reason. It's an outstanding multiplayer shooter experience that is so loaded with personality and character. It stands out from the rest just on that alone. Before you even get into the gameplay, you look at Overwatch and it pops. It's something different, and you know that just by looking at it and hearing it and watching someone else play it. And then when you finally sit down and you see the gameplay that it has to offer, it reminds you a lot of the shooters that you probably played 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago. And that's because, in a lot of ways, Overwatch is a rebirth of a genre that already existed that we simply didn't have a name for. It's a rebirth of the hero shooter, and it takes direct inspiration from games like Team Fortress 2, Half-Life Deathmatch, the list goes on and on. Blizzard basically brought elements of those games into the modern era, and then they injected it with their own bits and pieces of gameplay design, a more heavy take on the hero shooter concept, and their excessive level of what I like to call PPP, so polished presentation and personality. That seems to have become Blizzard's calling card, and you'll find it in every single one of their games. And if it wasn't there at launch, Blizzard usually manages to eventually put it in place, like they did with Diablo 3. Nothing feels as good as Overwatch does. You know, it's such a clean, well-designed game before you even get into the nitty-gritty. And as I mentioned, on top of that, that personality, that character that Blizzard has infused to it with their art direction and their character design and their environmental design is just top-notch. It really makes it feel like you're going someplace every time you play Overwatch. It's not really just a multiplayer shooter, it genuinely is an experience. It's like being transported into a different location, something cut off from the rest of the world, where you can just absorb yourself in all of the wonderful bits and pieces in detail. And that's something that Overwatch has actually done, Blizzard's done outstandingly well with Overwatch for a game that is multiplayer only. You know, there's nothing else going on here in terms of story or single player. You know, we've had fun stuff with the holiday events, but nothing directly in the form of a single player story. Everything they've done has been told in-game via text and audio, with the characters, the character design, the level, and the level design themselves, all the little details that you see the more and more you play the game, or outside of the game via shorts and bits and pieces of lore that they've released. Somehow, though, that all meshes together very well, and I think a lot of it has to do with the experience that you have when you really get hooked on Overwatch. If you start playing Overwatch, and you start to rack up the hours, and you get to like that 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 hour mark, you're pretty much guaranteed to go and look outside of the game itself and take in things like the shorts, take in the extra bits and pieces of lore. So even though I'm playing a multiplayer only experience, I know more about what's going on in Overwatch than I do in some of these single player story driven games that I've played over the last, 5-6 years. It's not perfect, and a lot of people would argue that a story would really enhance the Overwatch experience for many who choose to not look outside the game, and I agree. But I think it's the best damn attempt at this type of story delivery in a multiplayer-only experience. No one has come close. People have tried, no one has come close, and it's really done a lot for me. Overwatch is a very powerful game when it comes to the characters and the presentation, and myself, my friends, we're always talking about the skins, we're talking about the lore, we're talking about the bits and pieces of detail in the environment, the world, the where the characters communicate with each other, the voice lines that they have, and we're always taking that, and we're always sort of theory crafting and building ideas and concepts. And I think that's a big part of what makes Overwatch special outside of its core experience. When you do finally get to that gameplay, when you look past the art and the characters and the presentation, you have something that is decidedly old school in the best ways. One of the reasons that I loved Rainbow Six Siege, and the big reason that I also love Overwatch, is that they are two games that focus on what I've started calling in-the-moment value. A lot of people hear me talk about this in the past. It's the idea that a game is focused purely on giving you challenge and satisfaction through its core gameplay experience. There's no padding here. There's no unnecessary filler via bogus progression systems, something that has become very popular for a lot of good reasons over the last 10 years with games like Call of Duty. The idea that you're playing just to hit the next level to unlock the next piece of weaponry, the next piece of equipment. A game like Overwatch looks at the player and says, here's the deal. This is the gameplay experience that we have to offer. It's not filled with a bunch of nonsense. There's no level 50 or 60 to get to that next character or that next in-game gameplay component. Everything from a gameplay perspective is right here for you right now. You don't pay for heroes, you don't unlock them, you don't progress to unlock them. They're there. The game modes are there. The maps are there. We just want you to play. If you like what our game has to offer from a gameplay perspective, well, then we know you'll stick around, and that's the only way that we want you to keep playing Overwatch. We don't want you to play just to get to level 50 to unlock the next hero or the next weapon. There are a lot of games that build themselves around systems that will keep people playing purely to unlock content, not because they're actually enjoying the experience. That is why I love Overwatch so much. That core gameplay experience, that core gameplay loop is so satisfying to me that I don't need 50 maps. I don't need 50 game modes. I like what's there. Am I happy when they add more? Hell yeah. It's just, you're putting cherries on top of the icing that's already on top of my cake. I'm not going to turn that down. But I play Overwatch for that core gameplay experience, for the components and the challenges that I'm faced with because of the hero shooter design, because of the gameplay design that is there right at the start, that has been there at the start ever since Overwatch's release. That's what's kept me playing for hundreds of hours, and that's what will keep me playing for hundreds of hours more. Everything else is just a nice, juicy bonus looking to expand and improve and make the game feel bigger and better and give us a sense that it's growing and that the developers care about its progress moving forward. And I think Blizzard very much does. We've seen a lot of support for the game, balancing, tweaks, changes, bringing heroes, into the meta, making sure that they feel relevant in public play and in competitive play, giving us new heroes, and of course treating us to these wonderful holiday events, much like the winter event that is going on right now. Overwatch isn't just a multiplayer shooter, it feels like a world. It almost feels as powerful as World of Warcraft. I think this says a lot about Blizzard as a developer, and I really cannot wait to see what the future holds for us as Overwatch players. It's going to be really exciting. 2017, I can only imagine. And beyond that, I'll be here, and I know so many other people will. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Overwatch, my multiplayer shooter for 2016. I would love to hear you guys share your multiplayer shooter for 2016. Let me know down in the comment section below what it is, why. Give me some good reasoning as to why this is your game for 2016. Has it been a real place of building memories for you? Is it your go-to game for you and your friends? Why is it special to you, and why did you pick it for your multiplayer shooter of 2016? I'm still working on a new closer, so until then, I'll see you in the next one.